Okay, we're back. We're back. Sorry, everybody. Apparently, there was a hiccup on stream. It doesn't look like we had any issues up until then, and it looks like we're not dropping frames now, but yeah. Thankfully, I don't think that's. I think it was very brief, and I didn't really miss anything. We even got Inheritance's shameless plug, I think, so.
I was gonna say, did we miss my shameless plug?
No, I think it was right after when he said back to you that it disconnected.
Twitch is like, not on my watch. You can't cross advertise on my dime.
Well, Iris.
Already 4 times.
Well, they didn't hear it because the stream hiccuped.
Which leads us to the sad truth. My favorite coffee cup has been broken by the King of Germany, and Iris, you tried to conceal it from me. I shall have a bill sent via governmental channels to the German royal family for its replacement.
Okay, well that all checks out. We don't need to correct this one.
Can we please just continue? Thus concludes Sherlock Sholmes' great deduction of this painful puzzle.
German is so haunting.
I love it. Also, I found the lyrics to the song.
How?
What do you mean?
You're making risky Googles?
No, I'm not making risky Googles. The song is called Solo of Rage.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the game.
How'd you manage to find it?
I just looked up German song Ace Attorney, and it was the first thing that came up.
Okay.
With your silence as well, the fellow jovial warblings rather rings in the ears, does it not? Oh, Mr. Sholmes. It's about a guy whose throat burned after he had some beer, and then he tried to eat a sausage, but the sausage was too hard, so he broke a tooth.
Wow.
So the song is an ode to how angry he is at the fact that he broke a tooth trying to bite into a sausage. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I relate to
very
it so
relatable.
well. I must say something does rather trouble me. Pray, Mrs. Atto, do tell. His Royal Highness? Doesn't appear to have moved a muscle since we arrived. Ah.
And you haven't said a word either, Iris. If Mr. Sholmes has it all right, you might as well own up to it now.
The reasoning isn't entirely without substance, I must admit.
And one other thing, Mr. Sholmes.
Yet another grievance, Mr. Naruhodo? Surely not.
Well, I actually read the story of that case recently, the one you were just describing. And according to that at least, it wasn't the King of Germany, it was the King of Bohemia.
Goodness. Was it? Yes, it's quite true, Master Gotts. The prince testified to that in court. In his words... I was gonna do it, and then I'm not.
Hey there, Shady.
I've come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia.
Not gonna try? Okay.
I was going to, but I changed my mind. I would ask you to keep that minor error to yourself. It could easily become quite a scandal. I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that it's our turn now to make some corrections to that number of minor errors that may have slipped in.
Yes, even Mr. Sholmes is willing to admit he might be slightly wide of the mark this time. Although it's clear that Iris is definitely hiding something. We need to find out the truth behind this mysterious scene.
But the truth is incontrovertible. My favorite cup of coffee is Lupo. Favorite coffee cup. So, shall we embark again? On a joint presentation of Herlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular.
Hold it, Mr. Sholmes.
I shall not hold it. My hands are full. You like that?
No. I hated it.
I heard you giggle.
I hated it. Oh, yeah.
You want me to reread these?
Do you not want to?
I mean...
Sing along with this guy, then.
I wish I could.
Follow the gaze of his bright young eyes and rail a particular part of this mystery. Here's the man mildly irritating warbling reveal the herbal tea.
Herbal tea.
So what? It's some mix of herbs that gives you the urge to sing.
Goodness, I should like to try some.
I'd like to hear you singing, but this man... Just how long does he intend to keep up with that tune, do you suppose?
As I've said, he's been stock still the entire time, and if you look closely, his lips aren't moving either.
Ah,
So I'm not sure what's actually responded. So I'm not sure what's actually responsible for the spirited singing. But I suspect the answer lies at the end of Iris's gaze.
okay, so we got herbal tea, mask, gramophone.
It's definitely not the gramophone. But let's try it anyways, just for the funny answer.
Present or examine?
Yeah. Wait.
Too late.
Fair enough.
The reason for the man's mildly irritating wobbling is revealed by the gramophone.
Indeed. For no well-bred gentleman could break into an obscure folk song when making a social call. In other words, the gentleman isn't singing at all. In fact, it would appear that the fellow is unconscious.
Ah, the music seems to have stopped now.
I asked you, Mr. Naruto,
Yes?
why would I have purchased a recording of that gibberish?
How should I know?
Well, never mind. On with the deduction. Who exactly is this gentleman availing himself? So, blah, blah, blah.
I think it was the same line as before.
It is.
Reveal letters. Seals all of identity. Red office and a mask. Name was Wilhelm Gottstrick Sixman von Ormstein. King of Germany. Make sure the mask worn is identical. No question, that mask belongs to the King of Germany.
If you say so.
Though we've already established that it was actually the King of Bohemia.
Seems Mr. Sherman tends to persist with this Germany theory for some reason.
Come to think of it, the young prince was wearing a mask as well, wasn't he?
Master Gotts, the boy whom you had in tears.
Don't remind me, or anyone else.
Do you suppose all the members of the aristocracy in mainland Europe wear masks?
I'm sure they do. Well, probably anyway. The point is, the mask doesn't belong to any king.
No, that's right. As we all know, because we can identify the true owner of this mask.
Oh,
Genshin Asogi. Kazuma.
Kazuma Asogi?
Asogi Kazuma.
Azuma Kasogi?
Agosi Kamuzo.
Hakuna Matata?
What a wonderful phrase.
Yes, there can be no question. The mask belongs to Kazuma Asogi.
It means no worries. In other words, my memory's sublimely unreliable.
Only you could try to make that sound positive. Kazuma's mask has been languishing in its metal chest for several days. That doesn't explain why the gentleman is wearing it now.
But it is a simple matter to determine our guest's true identity. After all, the gentleman is unconscious. We need only excuse ourselves in advance, gently lift the mask, and peer beneath it.
If that mask has been sitting on the table there for days, like, how did Sholmes not realize that? I don't believe it.
Father! I'm afraid, Mrs. Otto, you must be mistaken. No, I think not, Mr. Show.
It's like,
logic of reasoning.
That's my dad. No, that's not it. That's my dad. Like, why would she not know what her dad looks like?
Are you sure? That's my dad!
Okay, sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, I finished reading the line.
Oh, I talked over it.
Logic of reasoning. Once again, reveal the truth. This mysterious visitor is my dad! It's my unconscious father, Eugen Mikatoba.
Logic and reasoning? Or just looking and saying?
And that is logic and reasoning. Like, just because it's like the first step in logic and reasoning doesn't like remove the value of it.
But it's still kind of an exaggeration.
Oh, you're a writer? You have pen and paper? It's like, yeah, you need those to write. But your inexcusable silence is because of this knapsack.
Not even big enough to nap in. So that's a 5-pound note poking out of Iris's knapsack, is it?
Oh dear, I can't be sure. Most money that we encounter is in coin form.
I know, I'm not even sure if we've seen any banknotes here in Britain at all, have we?
But anyway, Father would never have paid money for Iris's silence.
Certainly seems like the silent type himself, though, judging by his present state of being unconscious. There must be some other reason for Iris's silence, I suppose.
We also haven't established if it's even alive. I guess we just gotta imply, because he's breathing, but like, it's just a static image.
Well, he was singing.
We already established that it was a gramophone.
He was a gramophone.
I remember when I was a gramophone.
No, you'd be a grandpaphone.
Rude. Perhaps what I was trying so hard not to give away with her eyes is something entirely different.
Knapsack. What was that? Metal chest. Persian slipper.
Oh,
I think that's it.
oh, this one's not immediately obvious like all the other ones were. Can you check the cup? Don't present it. Just check it.
Cup?
Was the cup not an option?
No.
That he's holding?
Metal chest. Persian slipper or knapsack.
I mean, I guess check the metal chest. This metal chest contains important documents, doesn't it?
Yes, details of other cases Mr. Sholmes worked on over the years. Written up by Iris' father, if I'm remembering correctly. Iris insists the chest is kept locked at all times. She's never once shown me inside.
Well, its contents are invaluable to her, I suppose. And entirely irreplaceable. But look at it now. The catch is unlocked for once.
Ah, so it is. That's hard to ignore.
Very. I've never seen that chest unlocked before in all the time we've been staying here in Baker Street.
Okay.
I guess present it, yeah.
Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed inside that metal chest.
An excellent observation, for upon closer inspection, there is something different about the chest's appearance. It's kept locked at all times, yet now the catch is open. Evidently, this has something to do with your refusal to speak, Iris. But it's simple enough to matter to incite you to speak, I'm sure. I merely need to open this chest. Here we go. No, Hallie, don't!
Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes!
Mr. Sholmes, Hallie!
He's dead.
Never! Oh, Hallie, I told you not to open it!
I absolutely love reading North Kid. He's dead. Just immediately, just... Ah, so you found your voice now, Iris.
Ah!
In other words, what just happened clearly reveals the truth here. Yes, the real reason for your silence until now is...
That's somewhat different from the usual dance deduction from Mr. Sholmes, isn't it?
Well, he's left me alone on the ballroom floor, so I'm going to have to dance this part solo. Next part solo. And anyway, I need to get to the bottom of this for my own peace of mind. Now then, Iris isn't usually the silent type, so...
You mean you don't actually know the answer yet, despite the not knowing point of finger before?
Mrs. Adder, sometimes a man needs to point his finger first and think later.
Oh, well... If you say so. I think we better examine Iris more closely and try to rescue the situation then.
Okay, so... Skirt? Knapsack, key... I think that's it.
It's the key.
Kingdom Hearts.
Listen, did you hear the news?
Yep, we're getting a Kingdom Hearts Go.
Yeah, that seemed very exciting.
I
It's
don't
called
know.
Missing Link, right?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, it looked pretty good.
I don't know how I feel about the real world being in Kingdom Hearts, okay?
Everything's canon. We already established.
That's a key she's holding, look. I'm sure that wasn't in her hands before, was it?
No, you're right. It appeared as if by magic.
That's strange. A big old iron key. Where did it materialize from? Huh? What are we
I
doing?
think it's the key. The reason
Oh.
for the sec-
Oh, I clicked it when I should have presented it. Yes, the real reason for your silence till now is that key behind your back.
Ah!
And Mr. Sholmes was thrown into the air before. Yes, let's watch it again. Ah. Just before you called out to try to stop him, you slipped something out of your mouth. That something is the key in your hands. No doubt about the key to the chest.
You're so clever, Reno.
So now it becomes clear, thanks to Mr. Sholmes' graphic demonstration, we can well imagine what happened here.
But
Professor Mikitoba also opened that metal chest, only to be punched into the air and land sprawling on the settee.
But wait, there's more. That doesn't explain all the facts. What about the stylish scarf, the cup of tea, and above all, why would he be wearing Kazuma-sama's mask?
Well, for those curious details, I can think of only one explanation. Clearly an unbelievable miracle took place in this room. Isn't that right, Iris? Consider how the room was arranged before this whole painful experience took place. When Professor Mikitoba opened the chest, completely unaware of what awaited him inside, the mask was flung into the air just as he was, only to land neatly on his face when it fell back down. If the teacup's journey through the air ended when it caught on the unconscious professor's finger,
You mean to say the stylish scarf?
it's actually just a tablecloth. This is the great detective's office, after all, a place of miraculous deductions. Would you expect anything less?
Suzato wasn't expecting that she'd have to join in. She's like, oh, I'm on? Okay.
I guess I'll do this.
Yes, you're right. It's exactly as you say. It's exactly as you said. Brilliant, Reno.
This concludes Ryunosuke Naruhodo's great deduction of this punchy puzzle.
So then, why don't I make a fresh pot of tea for all of us?
Objection!
An admirable performance, Mr. Naruto. But in the final act of the show there, you rather missed everything of importance.
Mr. Sholmes,
If you'll cast your mind back to my earlier deduction. Iris, clearly you're hiding a great secret. Also, I'm very concussed.
she is, from the look on her face. Mr. Sholmes must be right. Whatever that great secret is, the cat isn't out of the bag yet.
So I put it to you again. I put it to you again. You attempt to abscond with that coffee cup. It's really shameful how Mr. Sholmes' cup.
Must have been smashed from Professor Mikitoba up in the chest.
Oh dear, so many things. Oh, sorry, I'm so sleepy. Oh. So many things seem to have been broken here.
Now that the deduction has taken a different direction, Iris doesn't seem to be trying to hide the broken cup anymore.
In other words, the great secret is something else.
Let's put our observational skills to work here one final time then. Okay, coffee cup, knapsack, case file.
I think it's the coffee cup, but we can also do the case file.
Make up your mind.
Let's just do the case file. Yes.
Uh,
We really do think it's the coffee cup.
I thought it was a knapsack. You're attempting to abscond with that case file.
They added an extra little violin here.
Hired just for this last act.
Iris, as you know very well. I think that's Ryosuke's leitmotif, right? Like that viola.
Is it? Sholmes?
Nothing except the attention of a great detective. Oh no!
We visited Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory earlier today, and Dr. Gorey informed us that the autopsy report of Clint Van Zeeks had gone missing.
Look at these Dutch angles. Oh my gosh. Clint Van Zeeks. Yes, I do seem to recall. Some years ago, I asked to see the report in question. You were with me, weren't you, Iris? Hi.
You mean it was you, Iris? See, those papers you have there are...
I'm sorry. Forgive me. Even though I'm actually crying right now, it's mostly because of yawns, not emotion.
Sure.
I'm such a method actor, I can't help it. In truth, I would like to have thought I could have predicted the booby-trapped chest. It caught me completely off guard. Very nearly the late consulting detective Erlock showed. I'm sorry, Hurley.
So you mean this autopsy report really is...
Yes, I took it from the lab, even though I knew it was very important. Was there something in it that troubled you, Iris? Not exactly something that troubled me. Something I'd been looking for. When I saw this report, when I saw the writing in it. I knew it was Daddy's.
The writing?
Your father's writing. What do you really mean?
Iris? Must be something that's hard for her to talk about.
Forgive me for interrupting, my dear fellows.
Mr. Sholmes, what is it?
I feel as though the poor unconscious gentleman on the settee has been somewhat forgotten. Ah, Father! Perhaps we should find our guest somewhere more peaceful to rest. Mr. Odo,
Yes?
would you be so kind as to lend him your bed? We must do our very best to make it comfortable, I fear.
Oh, yes, of course. I'll help you carry him up.
So will I. No, I can manage all alone, thank you. You have tea to enjoy. We wouldn't want Iris brew to stew.
Heads up, you're kind of to the side a little. Because there's no better way to make the professor comfortable than dragging him upstairs like a trunk. I wonder, perhaps that was deliberate. Maybe Mr. Sholmes would make himself scarce to give Iris the chance to talk more freely.
We must use this opportunity to talk to Iris.
A lot of yawns.
Yeah, I told you, I'm really sleepy. And find out what's going on. Your daddy.
Would you like to tell us about it, Iris? About your father?
I'm sure I told you before, didn't I, that Daddy used to be Hurley's partner. Yes, and that note about all the cases they solved together inside that metal chest. That's right, Hurley told me, you see. He said that Daddy's somewhere far away now, so we can't meet.
That's one way of describing it.
Then, when I secretly unlocked the chest and read through the papers inside, I started to build up a picture in my head of what Daddy must be like.
That's only natural.
You're just like any other girl your age. I read that Daddy was a professor of medical science, so I studied and took my degree too.
Well, that's only natural, I suppose.
In that respect, you're not quite like any other girls your age, though. But there's one thing I could never find out. Daddy's name.
Ah,
His name wasn't anywhere on any of the notes that had been made about his work with Ali. Then one day,
that's what happened, is it? When he saw this autopsy report, he finally managed to work it out. Is that right?
yes,
So it was the handwriting in the report that caught her eye.
when I saw the writing on that report, I could hardly believe it. I could hardly add or believe it. I know the handwriting, I thought to myself.
Because it was the same as the writing you'd seen on your father's case notes.
Exactly. I was desperate to compare the two properly. I needed to see them side by side. I asked the doctor in the laboratory, but I was told I couldn't take the report away. And even worse, I was told that that was the first and last time we'd be allowed to look at it there.
So you decided to steal it.
When I compared the autopsy reports with the case notes I had here, there was no doubt. The handwriting was exactly the same. It was Daddy's. And the signature at the corner at the bottom of the autopsy report.
Read Dr. John H. Wilson.
So that's how I finally found out. I learned Daddy's name at last.
I see.
Ever since then, I've called myself Iris Wilson. That's also when I had the brilliant idea of writing stories all about Daddy's exciting times with Hurley. I decided there and then that I'd write the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes. Oh, Iris, I had no idea the stories had such a deep personal significance to you.
I can see why the autopsy report was so important to her now.
Ugh.
And why she was prepared to break the law to get her hands on it.
Breaking the law, breaking the law.
But everything gets the death penalty here, so sorry, Iris.
Unfortunately for you.
This isn't me.
I must apologize, Iris.
Every time.
Huh? Well, sorry. I must apologize, Iris. It's really all my fault. Hallie?
Who knew that canonically Ouchie's voice would be just the most common voice that like everybody accidentally speaks in. That's just the default voice.
Everyone's default voice is Takatsuchi Ouchi until they metaphysically form into a cognitive being. Until then,
he's the human template. He's like the stem cells of humanity.
He's mitochondrial Adam. I didn't know that was a thing, but it is. I've made a promise, you see, till the time is right. I keep the details about your father a secret. I know. I've been very naughty. I'll take the autopsy report back to Dr. Gorey and apologize, I promise. Yes, we'll all go together, I think. And let me look after it for you two until we get there. Oh.
Edit the court record.
That was the worst idea you could have done.
Why?
Let's upend the entire British judicial system with information that we're not legally allowed to have.
Read it anyways.
He was 33, died on the 31st of May, anytime between 9 p.m. and midnight. Death from a single stab wound to the heart. Other superficial external wounds indicate a duel. Recent scarlet ink stains visible on the little and ring finger of the right hand, but no document of corresponding ink was found. Vital evidence regarding to stomach during autopsy. Credit to Inspector Gregson for so doggedly the autopsy procedure. No internal trauma noted anywhere.
Okay.
What's the vital evidence?
Oh, we'll find out someday.
Let's go water my herbs, I think. I'll see y'all later.
Thought you were gonna go return the thing. Okay. Poor Iris. She must be feeling awful. No, Mr. Sholmes is here for her. But still.
Ah! What? How? What's the meaning of this, Mr. Sholmes?
Mr. Sholmes?
Dear me. So you've noticed, I see. But that would mean...
What on earth's the matter, Mr. Zato? You've turned as white as a sheet.
It's his autopsy report, Mr. Naruto, the one from 10 years ago. The writing isn't Dr. Wilson's at all.
Huh? What do you mean? How could you possibly know that?
Because I know this writing very well. This writing is my father's.
What? Professor Mikitoba's?
Indeed, it's true. And now you know, my dear fellows.
No, I don't know anything. What on earth does all this mean, Mr. Sholmes? Because the idea that's slowly forming in my mind, it's just too extraordinary to believe. Please, you have to explain. So, this autopsy report was actually penned by Professor Mikitoba then? But that makes no sense. It's not possible, surely.
Not possible, my dear fellow. Pray, take a deep breath and think again. Yes, you're right. In some ways, it actually makes a great deal of sense.
It does.
10 years ago, his father returned to Japan after his extended study tour in Britain. Prior to his return, where was Dr. Mikitoba engaged?
Ah, of course. He was an assistant in Dr. Wilson's laboratory, learning about forensic science.
And as an assistant, he would have aided with the dissection work, making detailed notes, which would be assembled into the full autopsy report. Once the work was complete, the head coroner would check the contents and put its signature on the document. In other words, the only writing of Dr. Wilson's in the report would be his signature at the end.
I see. So Iris got the wrong end of the stick, you mean? She saw that and assumed the whole report had been written by Dr. John H. Wilson.
Which is very understandable, of course.
What a complicated situation. Thinking about it, most of what we know about you, Mr. Sholmes, from the published stories of your exploit, comes from the published stories of exploits. Just so you know, you're like way off camera.
Sorry. Why? Yes, the adventures are like shown, written by Iris.
We really have no way of knowing
No way of knowing.
what's fact and what's fiction.
Most troubling for you, my dear fellow, I'm sure.
So what about this supposed partner of yours? Does he really exist or not?
Ah, you've come straight to the point, I see. And please come straight to the answer. I believe Iris explained it in one of her installments.
Just making sure. Are you fully paying attention to everything going on right now?
As much as I can.
As much as you can.
I'm very sleepy. He was a trusted comrade and the only person I could have truly called a friend. And this partner of yours truly make a record of all your cases. Are his notes really stored inside that metal chest? Absolutely, my dear madam, absolutely.
So, where's your partner now?
We rarely meet, you see. He lives on the other side of the world.
But if this autopsy report and the records of all your old cases were penned by the same hand, if the autopsy report is written, though not signed, by your famous partner, there would be only one logical conclusion.
Pray, impress me.
Really? This is... Okay. Your partner would have to be Eugen Mikotoba. In other words, Mrs. Ada's father.
Upon my word, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes?
You're coming along wonderfully. You've hit upon the method at last. You've finally grasped the art of deduction.
You mean to say...
Allow me to introduce you to my great friend and partner, Mikotoba.
Professor Mikotoba?
Does this mean that you're the real Dr. Wilson?
No, my dear. I'm still my old self, Eugen Mikotoba, your father.
Oh, of course. Does that mean that Iris
This is obviously too much for...
This
is obviously too much for Sasada-san to take in. I must say, though, how my old friend has attained worldwide celebrity is a great mystery solver, is a great mystery of it all. The greatest mystery of all.
I still remember the first time we met. Pray remind me, when was it again, Mikotoba?
16 years ago, Sholmes.
Yes, quite. 16 years ago.
I just arrived from Japan with Sashiro and Genshin. I was in search of lodgings close to the hospital. Some comfortable rooms at a reasonable price.
But rent's devilishly high in that particular area.
That's right. So I decided I need someone to share lodgings and the expense. I was fortunate enough to be introduced to Sholmes when he found himself in a similar situation.
I was a callow fellow back then, a mere shadow of the great you see before you now.
Wait, how old was he?
16 years ago.
How old is he now? Where are... There you are.
I think he's 30, so... math.
18. And Eugen was 27.
I was working at the hospital's chemical laboratory at the time, indulging my curiosities with little gain.
The situation of our cohabitation led to us pursuing cases together, you see. Hard to believe. It was a mere 6 years. We had a great many adventures.
But in the last year of Mikatoba's stay in Britain, the most infamous cases presented itself. The case in which you've become rather familiar yourself. The professor killings.
After the trial, Sashiro and I were summoned back home. Hardly surprising, given the circumstances.
So there you have it. As you know, all the details recorded by my trusted chronicler remain in that chest.
This is amazing. Professor Mikitoba really is Mr. Sholmes' famous partner.
Father.
Goodness me, what a cutting luck.
As your daughter, I'm very proud to learn that you are the great detective's great partner. But nevertheless, there's another mystery that I really must ask you to explain now.
And that is? He's just taking a stride.
I know very well what it. You know very well what it is. The unresolved matter of Iris's father.
Ah, of course. I'd almost forgotten about that one. I should have seen this coming, I suppose.
Iris told us that all the notes about the great detective's adventures are in that metal chest. Were written by her father. Is that correct, Mr. Sholmes? That is indeed what I told young Iris. But if you're Mr. Sholmes' partner, father, and you wrote all those cases, then Iris' father must be you!
Ah!
Upon my word, Mrs. Hutto. You're coming along wonderfully as well. You too have hit upon the method at last. Finally grasped the art of deduction.
What?
Well, you've always told me, father, is that my mother died when I was born 16 years ago. And you left me in grandmother's cares while you embarked on your study tour of Britain. I've always accepted that, but all this about Iris.
Ooh, there it is, Suzato-san's ice-cold stare. No, hold on a minute. It was very complicated. I mean, it's really not what you think.
Then perhaps you'd like to explain exactly what it is.
Throw him! There it is. Now the eyes go from ice cold to red hot, just like before she. No, really, you've got the wrong end of the stick. Sholmes, say something, man.
That's quite enough, my fiery fellows.
Mr. Sholmes, when did he get all dressed up?
Well, so I don't like to interrupt this exciting exploration of the past. Mikatoba and I have urgent matters that require a short excursion. But it's very late, Mr. Sholmes. Where must you go?
No.
Well, why, my dear madam? Is that not obvious? My partner and I must pursue our natural enemies. Go get your coat, Mikatoba. The game is afoot.
But Sholmes, I really must give Suzato a full explanation, I think.
Later, my dear fellow, later. Our carriage awaits downstairs already.
You haven't changed one iota, have you? I mean, really, I visit our home after 10 long years, When I open that chest in a fit nostalgia, I quite inexplicably pass out. And if that wasn't enough, when I eventually regain consciousness, I'm plunged straight into all this.
Father, please, go with Mr. Sholmes now.
What?
I've no doubt that whatever happens, you are acting in everyone's best interests. I trust you completely.
Suzato.
And sending the great detective and his great partner off on renewed adventures together is more than I could have hoped for my wildest dreams.
Very well then. We'll speak again later.
So, I believe your work is done for the day. I wish you the best of luck for tomorrow.
Yes, Naruhodo, good luck in battle. And in reaching a decision. Decision? About whether to go back to Japan, I suppose.
So much happened that day that I barely knew what to do with myself.
Wow,
Do you like the voice I'm doing right now?
well, you're so
It
talented.
would only be later that I'd come to realize how amidst the chaos I'd unleashed were all the clues I needed to finally unearth the truth. And that all the turmoil was necessary to give me the resolve to see everything through.
He said it! He said the game name!
Credit. You said the game's name.
Yeah, but I'm him, so...
Man, I know I've already said it. But
Oh, legendary
game
pair.
is fully voice acted.
It is.
Not by us.
Why? Could you think of better voice actors?
Oh, yeah.